All right, well, it's 5 o'clock, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Chad Baldwin, the Director of Institutional Communications at the university, and we have two presidents here today. One is President Dick McGinity, appointed as UW's 25th president by the Board of Trustees yesterday, and Dave Bostrom, who's the president of the Board of Trustees, has joined us as well. And without further ado, I'd like to turn the time over to Dick, and we'll have some questions here shortly.
Thank you, Chad. Good afternoon to you all. I will say a few things, and then we'll do some questions. The first thing, and perhaps the most important thing I could say, is that I cannot tell you how honored I am to be entrusted with the 25th presidency of the University of Wyoming. When I first came to Wyoming 25 years ago, I never ever imagined that this would happen, but I will tell you in the same breath that for a person of my background and interests and experience, it's an opportunity of a lifetime, and I hope to make the most of it for the university and for the people of Wyoming. It's, as I say, it's an honor to be asked to do this. We've had a period of, let's say, turbulence in the leadership of the university over the last several months that is not unusual in organizations that go through a leadership change. But the trustees have provided the university now with the means for consistency in leadership and longer-term view, and I'm looking forward to getting on with that. It's a very exciting time. To put what is happening in perspective, I think it's important to keep in mind the missions of the university, and those are land grant mission and Tier 1 research excellence. One has a real focus on teaching. The other has more of a focus on research and production of new knowledge that benefits the people of the state and the country and as a whole, and even the world for that matter. The governor and the legislature said in particular that they want the university to be a Tier 1 institution in areas of academic distinction of relevance to the state of Wyoming. That is a mandate that's been in place for over 2 years, and we are pursuing that. Within that mission are really three goals, as I see it, and those are focus on students, number one, meaning that we want every student leaving the University of Wyoming prepared to compete in a global economy, and each student believing that he or she can achieve anything that he or she wants to do. All that person has to do is put his mind or her mind to it, because they've got the education, they've got the work ethic that's natural in the state of Wyoming, and their horizons are only limited by their own imaginations. There are thousands of UW graduates all over the world doing really important things, and we want every student leaving here believing that they can aspire to the same exciting careers and opportunities to serve the state or the country or people all over the world. So that's number one. Number two is absolute academic excellence in research, leading to production of PhDs who are doing world-class work. We already have many. We intend to have more. Production of academic papers in respected journals, and economic impact on the state, research that results in a better life for the people in Wyoming. Thirdly, we want the university to be actively engaged with its numerous constituencies across the state. There are many, and we have a variety of ways of doing that, and we're going to be concentrating on that. So those are sort of three goals within the broader mission of the state. I'd like to say something about the going back to the Tier 1 initiative that the governor and the legislature have mandated. That is an effort that begins with the College of Engineering and Applied Science, but ripples through other areas as well, including several departments within the College of Arts and Sciences, certainly the College of Business, College of Education in terms of its STEM inclinations. But that Tier 1 initiative is a program that will that cuts across the university already, and will become even more so in terms of integrating the different disciplines within the university and stimulating collaboration amongst the departments and the various units in academic affairs. So I am greatly excited by this opportunity, and by the opportunity to serve for a further period of time my adopted state. And as I say, I'm just looking forward to a really exciting time working with a really superb team of people, both the vice presidents of the university in the functional areas, and the colleges and schools and institutes across the campus that fall under academic affairs. I think I would leave it with that for now and take questions if you'd like.
You said when you were appointed as the temporary interim president a couple months ago that one of your first goals was to restore calm to the university. Do you think that you have done that in the interim, and do you think that you've kind of done that now as your new appointment?
I think what I would say about that is that there maybe was some turbulence or turmoil at the upper administrative levels of the university, but as I think I said back then, the work of the university at the working levels was going on. It did go on, and it has gone on since then, and it's off to a great start this semester. The teaching is being done, the students are learning and being tested on it, and the research in the university is going on. So I think we're, to whatever extent there was distraction at that time, that is gone, and people are very busy this week with the first week of the semester. And so I think the mood is very good, and work is going on as it should. Eldridge.
You mentioned a turbulent time, and now that you're officially the president, what are your top 3 initiatives to continue to calm the university at this point going on, now that you have, I guess, a long-term appointment to the presidency as opposed to this interim?
I don't think I need to do anything to calm the university. As I say, the work that should be going on in the university is going on. The reaction to my being made president, it has been solidly favorable. I think people are focusing on doing their jobs, and so that being the case, what I am focusing on now for the near term is interacting with the legislature on a number of important issues: compensation, the funding of this Tier 1 initiative, that the planning for that, and how to use that funding that the governor's mandated, and working with across the functional areas and the units in academic affairs to develop a pretty detailed strategic plan for the university for the next 6 years. So those would be my 3 primary goals in the short term, at least. Other questions?
Mr. President, there appears to be some trepidation among the faculty still.
I'm sorry, would you speak a little bit more slowly?
There appears to be some trepidation among the faculty about your appointment. Any response or thoughts about that?
It is in the nature of the university, any university, for the faculty to, at least some portions of the faculty, to disagree on a variety of things. So the fact that there may have been some of that, it doesn't bother me at all. That's what's supposed to happen in a university. And that's what people should want in a university. So no, I'm not concerned about it. I've got many good friends across the faculty, and I'm looking forward to working very closely with them. It's an incredible resource, the faculty as a group and individuals within it.
When were you approached about becoming the permanent president?
Good question. I'm going to say probably not until well, let's say the question was probably always in the background, but probably not in any kind of organized way until after the holidays. Is there a question? Yeah.
Is there anything you plan on doing to allay concerns that faculty expressed with regards to how the trustees made the decision to select you as the 25th president?
I think I'm really focused on leading the university forward. I'd invite you to, or if you'd like to direct that question to Dave Bostrom, who is the president of the Board of Trustees. I think that would be a reasonable thing to do.
The trustees were confronted with a extraordinary circumstance, extraordinary situation, because we'd gone through a short-term situation up until the time Bob Sternberg resigned. And that created much of the conflict or the turmoil that you talk about. It became important. The appointments that Dick had made into academic affairs and other areas on an interim basis, we had the credibility of leadership out there. And we needed to create, and Dick has described it well, a stability situation where we're stable, we're going forward, we're moving. It was not productive to do a search, period. And so we had to confront a situation immediately to make a decision in the best interest of the university. And we did that. And we had long and deep discussions about it, about the impact of it, about what it would be. But a decision was made to take someone with an academic background and a business background that melds together very nicely to manage a $500 million institution. And so it wasn't a hard decision, but it was a difficult decision to come to. And I don't know if that completely responds, but that was the thought process that the trustees went through.
Mr. Bostrom?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on why 2.5 years versus a 1.5 year? And what was the thought process on the contract length?
Well, there were many thoughts expressed about that. It's a good question. The reality is that a short-term situation does not show stability. How long does it take to demonstrate stability and growth? We can argue that all day long. To me, even 1.5 years doesn't do it. Does 2.5 years do it? We're getting there. But it's a situation of being able to manage the assets of the university going forward. Dick's going to be dealing with the governor. He's going to be dealing with the legislature. And they want to know who they're talking to going forward. And so having someone with his background and ability and knowledge throughout the state in a position to do that with the decision makers within the state was very important to us, and that certainly played into it. Yes?
Of course, one of the, this is for President McGinity, of course, one of the real visible aspects of the university is the athletics program, and President Sternberg seemed to have some real goals in mind there, even commissioned a study. Can you tell us what your goals or vision are in that area?
I would say that the same, and you've already seen the results of it. We have a new football coach. I think athletics are hugely important. I participated to some degree when I was an undergraduate, but I was also on a scholarship and working my way through, and so I had less time for it than some of the other folks. But it's very important internally for students as a leadership building experience, and also externally, obviously, because people in Wyoming have no monopoly on their love for their university, and it is enormous a builder of support and even love for the university. So it's important at a whole variety of levels. But I'm certainly happy with. I happen to be the beneficiary of some very solid homework done before I became even acting president that brought the new coach here, and we're hoping for only the best for him. So it's a very exciting time for athletics, among other things, at the university.
What about that law school task force? Is that still?
Good question. We had a meeting just the other night of some members of the College of Law Advisory Board and a couple of members of the Board of Trustees, just an informal conversation. But I said a few minutes ago that one of the priorities for the coming several months is this plan for the university as a whole. Each unit within the university is doing that, and including the College of Law. And the dean and the associate dean now in place there are first rate. And so there's going to be a planning exercise that goes forward that all by itself is going to draw in comment and input from a variety of constituencies. So I won't call it a task force, but each of the colleges are going to be going through this planning process. And each college has a number of constituencies that it serves, and their input will be solicited and they'll be listened to.
Following from the sports question, is there anything from the report at this point that you guys the athletic report, that you guys plan to specifically follow up on? How do you plan to use that report? Is that report more it's done and we're moving on?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I will confess to you that I've been busy enough so that I have not sat down with the athletic director to talk about what other good things should come out of it. But it's on my chore list. I'll promise you that much. But I can't tell you anything specific about it at this point. It's been actually it's been a pretty busy, shall I say, couple of months. Yeah, exactly. Someone asked me, well, how can you possibly do academic affairs and be the president? And I said, well, it's not really possible. It's maybe possible. It may be possible for a short period of time because on the academic affairs side, there are superb associate provosts in the office, and there are, in my mind, excellent deans in each of the colleges and directors of the schools. So these people do not need to be told what to do hour by hour or day by day. It's a really solid team, and the same is true of the vice president. So on both the academic side and on the sort of the functional area side, they're really solid people. But as good as they are, I mean, that situation isn't sustainable over anything longer than about what it was. And it's nice to have the holidays in there too, because things just calm down and the university closes for a week and a half. So, but it feels like a great luxury to have for the last week only one job. And in that regard, I want to give a compliment to Maggie Murdoch, who is the interim vice president for academic affairs now, whom most of you, or many of you probably know, and perhaps for longer than I have. My familiarity with her goes only back to about 2005 or so. But she is, her agreement to step in that role made my holiday. And I'd like to say it's her gift to the university that she's taken on that job, because everyone respects her, and both within the university and all across the state. So it's a great team, and she is a great addition to it.
So first I just want to tell you congratulations on your permanency.
Thank you.
And when you did do your research, just about everything and like all the obstacles, what were some of the challenges that you saw, and what do you feel is the best way to go about overcoming them?
I think, could I ask you to restate your question? I'm not sure I heard it all.
So I feel like, okay, so when you did do your research on some of the obstacles that the university faces, or some of the challenges that they face, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen, and what's the best way what's your strategy in overcoming those obstacles?
Let me give you three. And again, in the categories that I talked about: students, academic excellence, and let's call it outreach or constituent service. In the case of students, our retention rate is too low, meaning how many students that complete freshman year go on to start sophomore year. We need to get it up. Right now, it's only about 74% or so. It needs to be several percentage points higher than that. Our a beloved competitor to the south, Colorado State, has their retention rate is something like 85%. And so that's an example of focusing on students and getting them prepared. We just need to do better than that. We need to recruit better, and we need to get the students believing that they're not simply going to college to graduate and stay here, which of course they are perfectly willing to do, but we want them to believe that they can go anywhere and do well. So that's a challenge, and we're working on it. Second, in the area of academics, we need to focus in on the areas that we have defined of academic distinction, and think very clearly about how we are going to become. If in some we're already excellent in those areas, we say, okay, well, how do we expand on that? How do we grow it? For others, where they're important, but we want to get better, we need specific plans as to how to do that, and that's what the strategic planning process I'm describing that's what its purpose is. And then finally, the university does a lot of things out in the state. Each of the colleges does that I think are not well recognized in the state, but it's our responsibility to communicate it. And I think we need to both communicate outward to the various constituencies that we have in the state, communicate more to them about what we're doing, why we're doing it, but at the same time, finding out from them, okay, how do they think we're doing? We need to be very aware of that. And there are probably needs out there that we could be serving, but that we are not right now, or maybe not with as much energy as we might need to. I'm not saying we can be all things to all people, because no institution can. But we want to have a much closer, we want to have clearer, much better communications with our various constituencies than we have at the moment. And so those are three things, but you can go on and on into the details. But so, for example, with respect to both students and with this interaction with constituencies in the state, with Casper College, for example, there is a 2-year lab technician program there, and we're expanding that to a 4-year program. The additional 2 years are going to be taught by University of Wyoming faculty who are going to be based there. And that's the kind of thing where we can build on areas that we're already good and collaborate with other institutions that are doing a good job in similar areas. So it's finding that kind of thing, finding those opportunities and building on them is part of the work. Of course, I'll put in another plug for our efforts with the legislature. That's one of our requests to the funding for that effort, which can be a template for being taken to or expanded in Casper or taken to other community colleges. Funding for that was in our budget request to the legislature, and it is recommended by the governor also. And so we'll be reminding our legislators of that proposal, and that's the way you go about doing these things. Does that help?
Yeah, it does, and I think that would also help with the whole retention rate.
Good. Oh, yeah.
Because then if you have students, like teachers from the university, and then they're going into Casper College, it will like establish a long-term relationship and make them want to continue to stay involved. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, there are many positive spin-offs from doing that sort of thing. And as it is, many of our students come from the colleges with their 2-year degrees, and they're a very important source of students for us. Elders?
It was stated that you're going to be working close with the legislature and the governor, and you mentioned in our previous talks that the 2.5 raise is crucial to keeping faculty and staff. Do you think that'll be enough in the long term to keep your staff from being poached by other universities?
Good question. The compensation of faculty at the university is at the bottom any list of competitor institutions that you want to name. And that's one consideration. And a separate consideration is that there have been no compensation increases for faculty or staff, and I should include staff in this too. There's been no compensation increases for faculty or staff for 4 years, going on 5. And so, if you do the numbers on that, let's say inflation is 2% a year, pick a number. If you compound that over 4 or 5 years, that results in a 10% real decline in income. That is not sustainable, and all by itself, regardless of other considerations. But then at the same time, we've got faculty compensation at the low end of competitor institutions, and our better faculty, they know they can come here and make offers to some of our best faculty members that those faculty members will have to see as very attractive. We don't want that to happen. So coming back to your question, in the university's request to the legislature, budget request, and this goes back to last summer, we made a proposal. The governor made a different proposal that was, but it accomplished the same thing. So the university strongly supports his proposal with respect to compensation of state employees. So we're hoping that that's successful, but we're arguing strongly for it too. Does that answer your question?
Well, do you think that'll be enough though, or should it be more?
Yes, right. That was the second half of your question. That single change for the coming biennium is a great start, but we need to be focused on this, because even were that salary increase to be adopted by the legislature, it still leaves us below, at the very bottom of our competitor institutions. So we're going to have to do something for the longer term also. But again, I keep coming back to the plan that we're developing. We need a 5 or 6 year financial plan for the university, basically, that includes compensation, it includes programmatic improvements or expansions, capital, facilities. So it's a very comprehensive thing that we're working on, but it'll be the central tool, so to speak, that we'll use in communicating with the legislature about, we're directed to be, great for the students. We think we're pretty good. We need to be tier 1 in academic excellence in certain areas. That doesn't come cheaply. And so these are all the considerations that we're thinking about in the coming few months. Any other questions? Keep going.
Is there a plan in case you don't get the increase that you desire? Is there a plan in place to help keep your faculty then, if it doesn't go according to plan?
Well, let me just say that I'm optimistic about our ability to make our case to the legislature. So that's a start. But we need to think longer term, and not just depending upon the state for resources, but depending on other resources too. Philanthropy, for example, research grants from, let's say, government agencies or private sector donors. So the university has several different streams of income or revenue, so to speak, and we need to develop some more detailed plans about how to manage those various streams to accomplish what we need to internally.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Aaron?
Actually, I do have one. And that was, this is going back a ways now, but I was wondering if you had any specific thoughts on how to promote or protect academic freedom on campus.
That is a matter that is at the top of the minds of the members of the Board of Trustees, and my own, and Maggie Murdoch's, who's head of academic affairs, not to mention the entire faculty. So it is, it's just a crucially important issue, and I think I think we're doing all right now, but we have to be very, very vigilant about it. And that's, and I suppose that what you're getting at is, so if there are research grants or philanthropy or what have you, that it doesn't come with strings attached, so to speak, that restrict academic freedom. And that is, if that was your insight, you're exactly correct. And it's just something that needs to be, it needs to be watched very closely all the time. And it doesn't, the source of the revenue doesn't matter, whether it's federal government or donors or industry, sources of research funds from industry. It's very important. And it's a matter of, I have not sat through very many trustee meetings, but it's something at the top, it's at the top of the mind. So what I can tell you is, good question, stay tuned. Continuously, it's because it's a very important topic. I mean, it's the heart, it's the nature of a university and what it's supposed to do.
Yes, but I was just curious, does that include the legislature as well? When we talk about the academic freedom.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Elders.
Your contract is up in June of 2016. Is this a job that you want to have beyond that, or is that enough for you?
To be honest, I haven't really thought any farther ahead than maybe tomorrow. So I'll just defer on that for the moment. But no, I'll answer the question this way. At the end of 2.5 years from now, the only thing that matters to me is when I and everyone else looks back, how will we answer the question, how good a job did he do? Because the only thing that counts is results. That's it. Aspirations are great, but results are what matter. And at least that's the world that I come from. And I want us to together make as much progress as we can in this next 2.5-year period.
Thank you.
President Bostrom.
Yes.
If this has come up before and I missed it, I apologize. But at the end of the next academic year, will you guys at that point going to start conducting a search, or were you guys going to wait for the end of the president's tenure?
Well, there is no search underway, and the Board of Trustees will address that question when we get to that point. There has not been a discussion about starting a search, and we won't have those discussions until we get to the point that it's appropriate to do so.
When do you think that timeframe would be?
You can look at academic cycles and probably draw your own conclusions. People who are moving into high-level administrative jobs typically make those decisions about the first of the year, or coming into an institution July 1st, which is what most years run for academic institutions. And so if you extend that out, you can get to the point where it may be a point to be discussed out 1.5 years to 2. But the board has not discussed it, and I'm not saying that that's when it would be. There has been no consideration of any kind given to conducting a search.
Any others? Thank you very much then.
Thank you, everyone. President McGinity is going to be here for dinner at 7. He's actually going to give some welcoming remarks. Between now and then, he's available for some one-on-one discussions, and I'm not sure. I think that Dave said he'll be available as well, so you're welcome to bend their ears, and thanks very much for coming.
Thank you.